Amena Art, and today we are with Amena, who is going to be talking about the wings painting.
So hi guys, my name is Amena, and I am the creator of this wings painting here. This is actually a part of a collection. There's two of them that's very similar in color, which I'll go over the details here. My daughter's going to ask me some questions. Again, this is my daughter Delphine, and we're going to give you all the information on the wings painting. But if you haven't checked out the rest of the videos, definitely go ahead and follow now so you can go ahead and check out all the rest to learn all about the amazing paintings that we have here in the store.
So firstly, what is this painting's name?
So this one's actually not called Wings. We sometimes refer to Wings too, because it is, like I said, is a part of a set. You can actually purchase it right now as a set, as it is both available for lease or to own. But anyhow, so this is actually called Protection. So that is the official name of this piece.
Which I can kind of see it in the way it is kind of like enveloping itself, but why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of story and maybe a little bit of a link to why it's connected to the other piece.
Okay, so actually this, like I said, it's a part of a collection. If you haven't watched the first one, I recommend actually starting there. So pause this, come back to this one, go watch the first one about when we talked about Wings 1 or Rise, and then come back to this because it's gonna feed right into this painting right here. So on the first one of this collection, it's much bigger. It's like almost like a whole foot, I would say, on both sides bigger because it's rising up. It's actually ethereal. We talked about in the last one that these are angel wings actually. And so when we talk about Rise, we also want to talk about the other elements that angels provide. At least for me, the things that I think of when I think of angels, I think we want to, look at them as ethereal, as something that's strong and bold, and that we covered pretty much with Rise. But now we got to cover the other real big thing we think about when we think about angels, and that's really protection. Guardian angel. We talk about guardian angels a lot. So this is my interpretation of a guardian angel, of actually what that would symbolize if we took the first one and then kind of played a different role with it, and now it's not rising, it's actually protecting. And there's an actual interesting little element here, which I'll tell you here in a second. But I think that covered this question.
Yes, it did actually. So kind of give a little bit of background to why it's protection and why it's connected to Rise as well. I had to see it's a little bit different from actually Rise here, because it does have these little splotches of white.
Well, the other one had splotches of white. It's just really was more dominant where the lighting was rising up out of the formation of the wings, where it was more of like the grounding to the rising of the higher self, the higher heavens, however you want to actually interpretate that. On this one, there's a couple distinctly different elements that maybe a new looker on both these pieces wouldn't notice. Delphine mentioned one, the lighting is definitely different. You'll see the lighting is actually more internal in this one. The lighting is actually focused in the center. These are actually encased, like they were to fold over, and the lighting's inside, because we had to think of when we're protecting ourselves, or we're shielding ourselves. We're shielding our energy, we're shielding our light, we can say. And so that's what this is really focused on. It's shielding, it's protecting, and again, its name is Protection. A couple of other elements, maybe Delphine might be able to see. There's two really distinct ones, but it's not something normally that she would point out in other ones.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm still being thrown off by the easel.
Well, there's something definitely different I just mentioned at the very beginning, and that's the
size.
The size.
Yeah.
The size is actually intentional, actually.
It is smaller.
It's definitely smaller. And when we think about protecting ourselves, we kind of shrink down. We shrink down. We bring in all our energy to ourselves as a shield. So that's what that's to symbolize as. It has to be smaller. It has to be compact. We have to protect ourselves. So that is why that is. Another thing that, like I said, she probably wouldn't notice because it's not something that is really like, hey, this is definitely different compared to like a lot of the other things that we looked over on the other ones. And that's the placement of the signature. So on the other painting, if we actually look at that, the signature is on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the play into the transition of the different formations of the wings. So just something subtle, but definitely different. So
I do like it that you can see that the light is inside because you kind of see that it's slightly darker on the actual outline, but it doesn't feel as kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't feel as like sticker as the last one. It feels like it's kind of been here a little bit longer.
that's true, and I actually see an element in here that it wasn't really intentional, but it actually plays really well with this one. In making these large paintings, sometimes I'll have a little bit of color variation just because maybe I wasn't intentionally going to make this piece originally. And I think that's what it was, especially when I made this. If I remember correctly, when I created this, I didn't expect it to have a part 2. It really just called for a part 2. Again, angels have more than one meaning, so I wanted to really emulate the second meaning and create the second painting. But in doing so, like I said, when I remix colors, sometimes I can't get the colors exactly right. And in this case, it plays really well because we have these purples that are now almost a red color. Before the last painting, if we can look at that, we can see it from here, but you can, when you see the video, you can go back to it. You can see that the purples in that is more of a cool purple. It's more of a cool tone, right? And these are more red tone purples, and it actually plays really well, like I said, into this piece, is because when you think of protecting yourself, you're keeping yourself warm, you're keeping yourself protected, and that requires more energy. You're not loose, you're not open, which is more of a blue color. When I think of it visually, I think blue is more open, more like open to new experiences, to new things. When I think of red and purple, I'm thinking more protection, more like, hey, I got to protect me. That takes more energy than the more blue color. So,
which that explains a little bit of the color differences if you do see them side by side. It does also have kind of like the same background texture as the last one does, where it kind of gives like that wall vibe, which that is unique, I believe, to both of these paintings. So that's another kind of like link to them both. But is there like anything particularly that you really want to point out that you might have not pointed out just yet?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if I look at the other ones, this one, a lot of the same like stylized, things that I did translate really well on here too. Delphine says, yeah, there is a little bit difference in the texture. This one's a lot more texturized in general. You could definitely see the more creases, like it's older and more ancient. And you could probably relate that more if you want to put a symbolism to it. We talk about protection and the heat and energy that it takes to protect oneself. But we can also play that with texture. It's the tension, right? It's the tension when you're like holding on to yourself, and be like, I'm protecting myself. It takes energy, but it also takes that strength, which actually wears out and breaks down over time. And so I really like to point that out. If you want to make it more of a symbolism, it wasn't intentional, and I'll tell you that. It wasn't intentional, but sometimes these things happen intentionally, non-intentionally. And what I mean with that, half the times I don't even know what it's going to look like. In fact, majority of the times, I never know what it's going to look like at the end. It's really just trusting the process and my abilities to actually translate it to a painting, and just letting the universe or God or whatever kind of lead the way, and then use my skills to help me come up with the result.
Well, that I believe is the perfect wrap actually for this, which is like, that's the result, that's it. So this is
this one's called protection.
Protection.
I know, it gets confusing.
It gets confusing with those doubles. This one's protection, and it's by Amena. I am Delphine. We are with Amena Art. If you want to see any of the things that this is on, or even the piece itself as is currently open to the public, go to amenaart.com, and thank you for watching Amena Art on YouTube.
Take care, guys.